Coming to London has been really amazing. It's been really easy and really great to make friends here at SOAS because the course is so small, and so you see a lot of the same people all the time and you just get to know them really well, and it's just kind of like a little family. Hi, my name is Melanie. I'm a third year English student here at SOAS. The English degree started at the same time I did. It was culminated, I guess, from other modules that already existed in terms of literature and linguistics, and they just brought them all together, introduced some new ones to create a whole new course. Studying at SOAS has been different to the other places I had in mind because it has, right from the first year, a very global focus, and it's not something that they sort of ease you into right from the beginning. You're studying post-colonial literatures and looking at English as a global language as opposed to just the traditional canon. What's been great about studying the English degree has been the way that we've been able to have a lot of say and been able to tailor the course to our own preferences, because the professors are as new to the course as we are. So they've been really receptive into what kind of texts we've enjoyed and which ones we think should be excluded or maybe not as focused on in coming years. The course has grown every year, and it's my understanding that second year has about 25, and now the new first years have about 35, and from what I'm told, we get new applicants and more applicants every year. Because the course is so young, it obviously has evolved with time. My experience in my first year was 2 literature modules and 1 linguistics module, those being Ways of Reading, which was an introduction to critical theory, the other being Global Shakespeare, and the third linguistics module being English in the Global World. For our 4th module, we could either choose 2 half modules, one in term 1 and one in term 2, or one for the whole year, but the important thing was that that slot in your modules could be anything at SOAS. It was what we call an option module, and it doesn't have to be related to the course. I chose Basic Japanese 1, which is just the beginnings of learning the Japanese language. Despite the fact that SOAS looks at so many, shall we say, like unusual texts, there still is very much a focus on the canon. So I enjoyed that, not only to be able to read those texts, but to also then get a different angle on them and talk about the influence of Shakespeare in China and those sorts of things, as opposed to just Stratford-upon-Avon. My favourite module in first year was Global Shakespeare. There were many interesting things that we learnt about Shakespeare in Japan and the way that it influenced traditional forms of Japanese theatre, such as kabuki theatre or no theatre, as well as Japanese cinema, and we watched lots of Kurosawa adaptations of Shakespeare plays, such as Throne of Blood, which is an adaptation of Macbeth set in feudal times Japan. I think the way that learning about these texts has influenced me as a writer is that it's made me aware of the different perspectives that any work receives. I'm sure Shakespeare, when he wrote Macbeth, didn't expect it to be received in Japan and then studied again by English students looking at it from that angle. So it's been nice to sort of learn that you won't always have the audience you expect, but you can use that to your advantage. In terms of what to put in your personal statement and what you should have in mind is that an institution like SOAS, aside from the English degree, the school itself is really interested in global perspectives and in what makes you different and your voice different in this sort of wider academic world. In my personal statement, I talked about being really interested in children's literature, both sort of classic older things like The Hobbit and then things like the Harry Potter series. And having studied French and Portuguese at A-level, I talked about how different languages and the opportunity to learn more languages was really appealing to me. Most people would say that at A-level it's probably most suitable to take English literature. I personally didn't. I took English language, and obviously then that has its own advantages with studying things like English in the Global World and the linguistics modules. I also think what helped me in my application was taking languages and a focus on languages and that sort of wider global perspective. There's a real focus on J.M. Coetzee in sort of all the years I've studied at SOAS. I feel like I've read at least one J.M. Coetzee text, so reading one of his books would definitely put a leg over and give you an advantage. I think a very memorable moment for me in my degree was one of the early meetings I had with my dissertation tutor about my ideas for what I wanted my dissertation to be. And I think The first time I had like a really concrete idea about what it was going to be about, my professor immediately was like, oh, and you could talk about this and this and this, and she said, oh, this is so exciting. And this idea that an idea I had was going to be exciting in the world of academia and was going to potentially be a piece of writing that other academics were going to be really excited to read was something that I think made me feel like it had all been worth it. Not that it hadn't been amazing up until that point, but it just made me really realize like how much I had grown and how much I had become confident in what I had to say. Landed, it's alive, come to SOAS. If you want to know more about the top tier universities around the world, subscribe to Crimson Education.